Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of CNB Bazaar Buzz. You're on the NDTV network. I am CYRUS DHABHAR, and without wasting a lot of your time, let's get straight into what we have for you on the show this week. The i20 now gets an automatic. We drive it for you. The BMW 6 GT tested, and we show you how a muffler is made. And Ducati's new Scrambler Mach 2.0. So let's get straight into our lead story of the week. The i20 finally has an automatic gearbox. It isn't an AMT as the Swift or the Ignis is. It is a CVT like its biggest rival, the Baleno. I drive it around Delhi streets, urban Delhi streets, to see if it's better than the manual and if it's the ideal premium hatchback you can buy in the Indian market today. The Indian customer has finally woken up to the fact that automatic gearboxes are a necessity, especially in urban areas, more than a luxury. Almost every car maker today offers an automatic gearbox across its range, from tiny hatchbacks to subcompact sedans and SUVs to full-size SUVs. Now, the popularity of the automatic gearbox has been on the increase every single day, and that's mainly because the traffic in most cities is just it's crazy. Now, the number of queries we get from metros like Mumbai or Delhi is completely off the charts, and that's mainly because the fact that the automatic gearbox, the new generation of automatic gearboxes, are almost as fuel efficient as their manual counterparts, and in some cases even more fuel efficient than the manual counterparts. And the other thing is the fact that that whole urban legend about automatics being much more expensive to maintain, that's slowly going away now. People are more educated. So it comes as no surprise then that Hyundai has finally launched the facelifted i20 in India with an automatic gearbox. Now, where the older pre-facelift car got a larger 1.4-litre engine like the one you get on the Verna, mated to an old and lethargic 4-speed torque converter, this one is a little different. So, this car, it's a petrol engine. Hyundai doesn't offer an automatic on the diesel just yet, but definitely something to consider. Now, the 1.2-litre engine still makes the same amount of power and torque as the manual does. So you get 82 bhp and 115 Newton meters of torque. And of course, the CVT gearbox is much nicer to drive in the city. It just is. It's smoother. And remember, this engine was never meant to be a performance-driven engine. It's a more gentler, more sort of smoother, easygoing engine as compared to some of its competition, like the K12, for example, which does like to rev a lot higher. Now, there is still that slight rubber bandy effect which every CVT gearbox just does have, and throttle response, when you do floor it, sometimes it does take a little while to kick in, but otherwise when it actually comes to daily city driving in start-stop traffic, this thing is almost unbeatable because it's smoother to drive, it's, well, almost as fuel efficient if you have a light foot, it just makes you feel less tired. Automatic is just the way to go, and Hyundai has finally got this really right. The i20 automatic is available in two variants, the Magna and the Asta, but does not get a fully loaded Asta optional variant. So you do miss out on features like keyless entry and a push button start, and you do get a normal flip key instead. It also misses out on 6 airbags. Instead, it gets the standard 2 only. And it misses out on features like projector headlamps with the integrated daytime running lights. Instead, what you do get is a standard halogen headlamp with the DRLs located just under the fog lamps, and in my opinion, that really looks quite cool. You also miss out on those large 16-inch two-tone diamond cut wheels, and instead you get a set of grey 15-inchers. Priced between 7,04,000 rupees and 8,16,000 rupees, the new i20 automatic facelift is considerably cheaper than the older i20 and takes on its two biggest rivals, the Honda Jazz, which is priced between 7,71,000 and 8,47,000 rupees, and of course the Maruti Baleno CVT, which is priced between 7,10,000 and 8,41,000 rupees. And with the introduction of the automatic CVT, Hyundai has ensured that the i20 range is now a complete package and a true benchmark in the premium hatchback segment. So there you have it. The Hyundai i20 is now a more complete package and definitely still is the benchmark of the segment, making it even better now as compared to the Maruti Suzuki Baleno in terms of the whole range. Now from one premium hatchback to something that's still sort of a hatchback but with the dimensions of a luxury sedan, BMW's brand new 6 Series GT. I've been driving it around and here's what I think of it. The 6 Series is one of the most legendary models that BMW has ever offered. Starting its life with an aggressive super coupe of the 80s with its shark nose design to its extremely popular and well-rounded second generation designed by legendary designer Chris Bangle, the 6 Series has a lot of fans. In India, you can get the car as a cabrio, a 2-door coupe and a 4-door coupe, and while the 6 Series is known for its sportiness, this new body style isn't meant to be sporty at all. In fact, it is quite the opposite. Now compared to all those glorious BMWs we just showed you a couple of seconds ago, this body style is a little disappointing, especially for me who believes in purity of design when it comes to certain brands. But there is definitely a need for such a car in the BMW lineup, especially considering the fact that the 5 Series GT doesn't exist anymore, so this fills that gap perfectly. It is still a notchback and it still has a lot of design, smaller details which even the 3 Series GT has. So for example, you get a vent on the bumper here which flows air through, and even the lower grille is angled inwards, so it gives the car a wider, a sportier stance. You have little fins behind the kidney grille here which close off if you don't need them, thereby improving aerodynamics. And the GT is very famous for this design, and the 6 Series has always been famous for this design. Pillarless doors. Now I think this is really cool, and a normal family car having pillarless doors is definitely something that I approve of. When you do shut them, you do put the windows down, you get this lovely open feel, and it does have a lot of coupe elements, and this is cool. Apart from that, of course, this is still a notchback, and it does have a electronically folding spoiler which you can press a button and fold down or fold up, which is a thing in all GTs. And as I said, a notchback, so you have a huge loading area, which does have a box now, but you have a huge loading area, and it is basically a large hatchback but with all that sedan dimension. It does suit its sort of job really perfectly well. Personally, I do think it needs larger wheels as standard though, and not as an option as available currently. Okay then, I will go past the fact that this car now exists in the lineup, and actually it does look quite neat, even though BMW purists are possibly contemplating seppuku. The 6 GT is available with just one variant, but BMW is considering more variants, and more importantly a diesel engine, as currently it is only available with a petrol. Now the luxury car market in India is slowly moving back towards petrol engines, considering the fact that the actual price difference between buying a petrol motor or a petrol variant and buying a diesel variant isn't too high, and of course the difference between fuel prices for petrol and diesel have sort of come down drastically as compared to what they were a few years ago. Of course, petrol does have its advantages. It's a quieter engine in most cases. It's also very fuel efficient now, considering all these new petrol engines are turbocharged, and playing on all of those sentiments is exactly what BMW has done by offering the 6 GT with just a petrol option. The engine is a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol unit, which of course is turbocharged, making 255 bhp of peak power and 400 Nm of peak torque. All that power gets the 6 GT from 0 to 100 km/h in 6.3 seconds and onto an electronically limited top speed of 250 km/h. Now that much power in a car like this with applications like this is more than enough to get you going, especially considering the fact that most of the time if you own one of these or if you buy one of these, you're going to spend your time in the back seat while a chauffeur or a driver is going to actually drive you around. But the advantage, well, luxury and comfort is the whole theme of the GT, and the petrol engine suits this really well because NVH levels are really low and the engine is extremely non-intrusive when it comes to actual driving cycles. It is a very quiet engine. It does sort of rev up nicely when you really push it if you need to, but then will you ever need to do that in a 6 GT? Not really. The 6 GT is larger than the 5 Series in terms of length, width, height, and most importantly, wheelbase. Although the actual cabin space in the rear is similar, when it comes to headroom, the 6 GT's lift-back design means taller people can sit more comfortably. And the seats too are set higher than the sunk-in ones you get on the 5. You also get a rear infotainment package, electronically reclining rear seats, and electronic rear blinds. More wheelbase also means more legroom, and that, combined with the more plush and softer seats, really makes the 6 GT's back seat a great place to be in. Up front, the 6 GT is actually like a 5 Series, only a little more higher set. For a sedan, it actually gives you a nice commanding view of the road, and of course, as the 5 Series, it comes loaded to the gills with technology. A massive touchscreen, BMW's excellent iDrive, and the gesture control for volume are all present here. And just like the rear seats, the front seats are comfy too, and in my opinion, slightly larger than the ones you get on the 5. The panoramic sunroof also helps making the car a lot airier, and in all ways, the 6 GT ensures you get pampered. The BMW 6 Series GT is priced at 60,80,000 rupees ex showroom, which is about 7 lakhs more than the comparable 5 Series. While it has nowhere near the dynamics of the 5, it does offer comfort in spades for a price that is much lower than the flagship 7 Series. For what it is meant to do, be a no-nonsense luxury limousine with a BMW badge, it does its job really well. But that brings us to the big question. If dynamics is not what you are looking for and luxury is what you really want from your chauffeur-driven luxury car, why not just have the E-Class long wheelbase instead?